Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So, Budget 2023 was announced a few days ago. Lots of things happened. I'm going to give you my thoughts on primarily three things right now. The focus here is for investors. There's a lot of things for many different people, but specifically we're going to focus on investors. We talk about in general the economy, how this will affect the specific sectors, what are some of the winners and losers, and of course I'll give my summary at the end. As usual, guys, none of what I say should be taken as financial advice. If you want that sort of advice, please speak to a professional. Alright guys, if you didn't know, we have a free masterclass just for you where we train you how you can build a 6 to 7 figure portfolio using the power of stock investing. If that's something you're interested in, you can sign up for the masterclass in the comment section or the description. Alright guys, so brief, what's happening. As I said earlier on, is a 372.3 billion budget for 2023 announced last week. So this is what it is. It's a increase, more than 10% increase from 2022. Now, what are some of the highlights? I would say definitely the first one is the budget deficit. It's moving somewhat in the right direction. As you know, in 2020 and 2021, COVID hit us pretty hard, and in 2022 and beyond, we're looking at a recovery. So that's very exciting, at least for the economy and even the ringgit. So all of this is also in line with the return of our old GDP growth, which is on average about 4% 2023. At least the government anticipates it to be in between 4 to 5%. So really, I think the thing to understand here is really no big shocks. In a way, this is good. You can argue, right? We don't want too many surprises, even in a election year or election budget. Economy, is recovering well. As I said, above average, fantastic. And I also like the government's plan to reduce the deficit, the budget deficit, by 3.5% in 2022. Now, another big one, which is consumer spending. Now, what's linked to that is actually the tax rates. So you can pause the video and see some of the details about the tax rate. But basically, for a lot of the micro and SMEs, there's going to be a tax cut, right? It will be dropped by 2% for income tax rates for the first 100,000 ringgit, and then for resident individuals, for the 50 to 70k income range, it will drop from 13 to 11%. Then from the 70 to 100k range, it will drop from 21 to 19%. So all this will lead to, in theory, further consumer spending. However, as far as the budget is concerned, the Bantuan Keluarga Malaysia, of almost 10 billion, which are cash handouts, I believe, to the B40 part of the Malaysian world, will actually, offset in the budget, right? However, I think it's really not going to change the economy in a big way, because even if you did give tax cuts and all this economy, Bantuan Keluarga stuff, it's still not going to guarantee that people will spend. Why? If they just save more, especially with interest rates rising. And does it really affect their spending power? Well, I'll share with you my thoughts in the summary later on. So that is also something that the government has, of course, talked about handling for the longest time. Disappointing to know that based on their own estimations, the debt service charges will go from 15.1% in 2022 to 16.9% in 2023, which then, of course, affects the debt to GDP ratio, which is up from 61% to 63% in 2023, or anticipated to be up. And that is encroaching on the 65% debt to GDP ratio ceiling that the government has set for the country. As far as revenue is concerned, here are some of the key things that I think we need to know. First is that there will be some sort of contraction. That's one. Number two, a A lot of it is due to the oil price assumption. The government think that it's going to be roughly at 90 billion, right? That's the assumption for 2023. It could go lower, at least with the momentum right now. And then, of course, the second contributing factor rather, is that the income tax rates plus the lack of prosperity tax means that the revenue should drop. And that is obviously not something we want to look at. Hint, hint, GST, but that's just my opinion. Alright guys, if you're interested in working with us on a private one-on-one basis to improve your stock investing skills, we have the perfect solution for you. That is our mentorship program. You can actually apply in the comment section or the description. Now, key thing is that not every one of you will hop into an interview. Only 20% of you ever get to be interviewed by us. And even if you actually hop on the program, it's an exclusive program. But if you're interested and if you're confident that you can qualify for it, go ahead and apply. So how about the sectors? Okay, so the first one would be the automotive industry, right? So here are some of the key highlights. There's more to this, right? 330 million will be allocated for infrastructure spending for electric vehicles. And Tenaga Nasional has really committed to EV charging stations, right? Contributing. Obviously, they're the best. They're the best position, right, to do this as of now, at least. So you have the GTFS, which is a financing scheme, is going to increase to 3 billion all the way until 2025. Again, more capital, or at least more capital is being allocated into these industries. And you've got things like 100% income tax exemption from 2023 to 2032. Fantastic. This is, in spirit of the pioneer income tax status thing that the government does, especially for the guys in Penang. And we've seen all the benefits that have resulted thanks to these sort of tax cuts. Penang is a mega hub for a lot of semiconductor manufacturing. So we hope that something similar can happen to electric vehicles, especially when you consider that this country really loves its cars. So look out for that. If you want to know a car company that is really into all of this, go check out our video on Betamac right here. Right, you can go check it out. It's very interesting. So I think it's a good step in the right direction. However, as far as like the car companies in Malaysia or those linked to car companies, it's really not going to affect too much because electric vehicles are in the 150,000 ringgit range, give or take. That is way above what the M40 or the B40 typically can afford. I know some of your M40, B40 guys do end up buying that sort of cars, but by and large, the businesses linked to vehicles in Bursa Malaysia, your Perduas and all and of this world, not quite there yet, as they're not very affordable. And then you also have the issue of charging stations, right? It's not quite there. The infrastructure is not quite there yet. So, the effects is really, at least, right, 3 to 4 years. So banking, they're going to get a boost thanks to the prosperity tax or the lack of. That's always fantastic. Moratoriums are also going to disappear. 19 billion, right, lending was earmarked for SMEs, but this is really very, very small. Roughly, this is only about 1% or less than 1% of the Malaysian banking sector. So it's great that the government is doing this, but it's really not going to affect. All this taken into account based on what experts are saying. They're anticipating a 20% profit growth for the banking industry, and I do believe that probably a bigger opportunity can be seen in the bigger banks where they were much more affected by the loan moratoriums and the prosperity tax. So construction, right? So this is a big one. A lot of people were actually complaining about how the development expenditures, which is a proxy to a lot of people for cronyism, was bumped up very highly by 32% to 95 billion. However, what people don't realize, a part of it is that the 1MDB bonds is also part of that. If you exclude that, really the development expenditure only increased by 13.5%. Now, as far as it's very complicated, right, this expenditure, but essentially there's 62 billion worth of projects. However, most of them are like smaller projects that will affect maybe the smaller players in the space. Sabah, Sarawak, rural areas, that's about 39%. And then 25% of them are to already existing ongoing projects like the MRT and the HSR. So when you take into all this account, there's really not a big chunk. There's maybe 10 to 15 billion additional for new big projects. So as my point of view is that I don't think the big players in the space is going to be affected too much, but always look into the specific details to see if you missed something or if I've missed something. Now, the last one I want to talk about is retail. So when you look at the tax cuts plus the BKM, right, the Bantuan Keluarga Malaysia, experts estimate, right, this will be 800 million of additional spending only. Honestly, this is not much. It's only helping the M&B 40 a little bit. Consider the fact that there's inflation plus interest rates are rising. So inflation, so when you go out, you know, food and all that is more expensive, petrol, whatnot. And interest rates are rising, so housing cost is going to increase. So there's, you know, really it's really a plaster, right? It's going to plaster over bigger cracks, and it's the step in the right direction, I would say, but it's really not going to be big. Hey guys, enjoying the video? If the answer is yes, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Click on the notification bell so whenever new videos pop, you'll know it fresh. Alright guys, so just to summarize my thoughts, really, I think a boring budget is a good budget. Not much changes. Although you might disagree, let me know in the comments if you thought that the budget was severely lacking. Certainly, I do think certain elements are lacking. For example, I would have preferred more talks about, you know, actually the upskilling of the nation and things like that. I'm sure there was. Maybe I needed to go through more, but certainly these are not the big highlights, right? Automotive and banking, a little bit more positive. Construction and retail, not as good as the government intend, but it'll still be there, right? It doesn't mean it's bad. It just means that it's not going to boost the sector as much, at least based on the facts right now. Great thing is that the economy is chugging along. This, of course, is positive for the ringgit, considering, you know, what's happening with the currency. However, the debt will always be an issue, the debt ceiling and all that, but at least it seems like the Ministry of Finance is doing a decent job of maintaining the budget. But again, not much excitement. You know, election is coming up. I don't think this is going to get a lot of people excited. However, as I said earlier on, you know, a big chunk, right, of the loans, 40% of the development expenditures going to rural areas. So, you know, that what does that mean? You can make the connection, right? So yeah, that's really my thoughts on the this election budget. Really, I expected more, coming away a little bit disappointed, but again, generally in the right direction by and large, right? Of course, there's things like corruption, but that's a topic for another day. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know, right, if you agree or disagree in the comments. Always love to hear your feedback. Come watch some of our other videos, right, if you're interested in things like the ringgit and stocks. And I'll see you in the next video.